It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.
Nigeria's population is growing at approximately 2.1% per year, adding around 5 million people annually. Nigeria's greatest asset is its people. With one of the youngest populations in the world and a rapidly growing digital economy, the country has a unique opportunity to become a leading source for talent for Africa and the world. But this opportunity will not translate automatically. Preparing millions of young people for the future of work requires collaboration between institutions, innovators, employers, government, development partners, and the young talents themselves. The question is no longer whether skills development matters, because we know it does. The question is, how can we build systems that can deliver at skills development scale? Welcome to the final episode of this month's EdTech Mondays Nigeria. This is a platform to facilitate critical conversations on the role of technology in teaching and learning to shape the future of education in Nigeria. I am Damilola Busari, and I'm the host for the program. Over the past 3 episodes, we've explored what job readiness means, how young people discover careers, and how skills translate into income. Today, we zoom out and look at a much bigger picture. I still have my guests here with me. Please welcome again Blessing Adeolu Adediran, Senior Program Manager at SAIL, Dr. Emmanuel Tafa, co-founder Crypta, Azeezat Adetola, digital content creator, and Timothy Aluko, Nigerian program lead Gateway. Of course, I have my live audience here with us in the studio, proud alumni of the SAIL program. Thanks for joining us. So let's get into today's conversation. And I'll start off with you, Blessing. What does scaling workforce readiness to hundreds of thousands of young Nigerians actually require?
I think that's a very critical question. Scaling to hundreds of thousands of Nigerians will definitely require strong partnerships. And for us at SAIL, we've done thousands of young people whom we have trained already. And this has been made possible through the sort of partnerships that we have built and collaborations. And by these partnerships, I mean partnerships with funding partners. As you know, these workforce trainings, they cost a lot and they are not cheap. And so, strong funding partners that would help to reach beyond the hundreds to the hundreds of thousands of young people. Additionally, reducing the barrier to access to entry. Like I mentioned, workforce development training costs a lot. And one of the things that makes it stand out is the fact that it requires digital tools, right? It goes beyond pen and paper. We need computers, we need internet, to really make this work. And so being able to reduce the barrier to access to entry will be very important in being able to scale these programs. So if we're able to get the right, and still linked to partnerships, which I mentioned earlier, if we're able to get the sort of partnerships that provides access to tools, for example, let's say, I don't want to mention any brands, but let's say a very big, computer producing organization says, I'm going to give out thousands of systems, laptops, it would really, really help. Because we've been in this work for a number of years, and the desire is there, but what's missing many times is opportunities, access. And that's why, the growth of many workforce development programs has been really good, like the Gateway that's dealing with, access to gig work and providing even access to hubs, for people who don't have access to tools. So that's really a very important factor, being able to reduce that barrier to access to entry in terms of tools, in terms of internet. For some people, they have laptops, but they don't have money to buy data. Yes. And we know the cost of data currently, it's enormous. It's increasing, you understand, it's increasing daily, right? So having all of those partnerships put together that supports scaling these workforce development programs will be very, very critical to being able to scale these programs collectively as a country and as individual organizations that are currently involved in workforce development programs.
Thanks for sharing your insights. So partnerships are key, funding, access to tools, access to internet connectivity as well. Very, very important. Dr. Tafa, early on, you were about to speak about scale. This is the time for you to share your thoughts with us on that. How is Crypta working to ensure that we're able to scale these solutions?
All right, thank you. So we're still figuring it out, to be sincere. But I'll tell you some of the things we're trying. We started with the philosophy that if the likes of Airbnb, Uber can scale, we too can scale. So there's a concept called service layer. The service layer is when you have a platform that has a driver and the rider, or the hosts and the guests, Uber and Airbnb respectively, you now need a service layer. The service layer is where a human being is involved to provide the service. So the driver is the service layer, it's not a robot. The host is the service layer. Some hosts try to do their houses as great as a hotel. Some other hosts, they can't care less. And of course, the ratings matter. So we want to borrow from concepts like that in designing a coaching-led virtual internship program. So for instance, I have a couple of university students who are reading accounting. We've gone to a community of women who run businesses but have accounting problems. And through our middle ground called IPF, which is like an offshoot of our consulting business that we had to create to focus on Crypta and also to help us focus on Crypta, we'll coordinate that process. So you don't have accounts or your books are in full-scale papers. Yes, we still have a couple of them and they're making millions. So we have these 2 university students we've gotten, it's going to cost $500,000 and we're going to be cleaning up your books and completing your management account for the last 3 years. Okay, the last 2 years, sorry.
Okay.
And we begin. So all she does is typically she dumps it. Now that coach that will guide them to complete the task is the service layer. So we are experimenting with, and I'm very open about it, not coming here to exaggerate what we are doing, but we're experimenting with these coaches working with these students. By the time they are done preparing the manual accounts once, twice. Now, how did we get the students? They came into our Elite Campus program, the mass market product, expecting them to pay, take the courses, take the simulations, identify the most serious ones, and give them this opportunity. Out of the $500,000, how is it shared? The coach will take a percentage, IPF will take a percentage, Crypta will take a percentage, and then the students will get. Our estimate is that for about 4 weeks worth of work, students should go on 75K each, thereabout, or 50, depending on how long they. But they will find that useful. 50,000 naira, and I learned, not bad. So that's how we are beginning the process. So we have to scale that coaching network, which will still be the students themselves, either when they graduate or from the other people that are more experienced. So that's our simple model, the service layer, and we begin to scale.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, especially the practicability of it all and seeing how, like Blessing shared with us as well, partnership. So even in scaling too, there's some sort of partnership with different stakeholders to make that happen. I'm going to come to you, Timothy. What changes do you believe would help more employers trust and hire talent that is emerging from alternative learning pathways?
So I think when you're talking about the end of the value chain, right? I think partnerships are very critical. Now I know that on gig platforms, for instance, a lot of employers will typically have consent particularly for talents emerging from maybe our own ecosystem here. And that's where partnership comes into play, because you need to be able to break a lot of barriers on those platforms. Barriers such as bias, right? So some of those employers, for instance, have bias towards our own talents. And so one thing you need to do is to also do a lot of advocacy, right? A lot of engagements and a lot of confidence building in these potential employers, just to make them, to ensure that they are building a lot of confidence in our own job market in that sense, and ensuring that that bias challenge to a very large extent is addressed. Another thing is to also ensure that as much as possible, the quality of the talent that are getting on those platforms are as high as possible. High in the sense that the way you've designed your interventions, you're ensuring that there is what I describe as, assurance of learning. That what you say these participants are able to do, that at the end of the program, they are actually able to do, at the minimum, what you say they are able to do, if not more, right? If you say a participant has certain set of skills, right, when they get on those platforms and they are beginning to engage with the employers, they are beginning to engage with people who are looking for gig workers on those platforms, that those participants or those talents are actually able to do those things, and realize that over time, there is a lot of confidence in the talents that you're churning out from our own market here, because, again, those are quality talents. They're able to compete globally, whether with talent from Europe or America or places that, you have very high quality talents in that sense. So I think that engagement is really important. That intentionality in building those partnerships with the platforms themselves and with the employers, I think, is very critical. And it also, if we're going to backtrack a bit, it also, goes back to how you begin to, identify the needs of those employers as well, so that you can integrate these needs in how you design the curriculum and how you design the program as well. I think those things are very, very important.
Thank you very much, Timothy. So definitely a curriculum that already envisages and addresses the needs of the employers, and ensuring that the talent that pass through it actually take on those skills. Azeezat, earlier on, one of the things that Blessing mentioned was the challenge of accessibility. As someone that has passed through a program yourself, were there any challenges that you had in accessing programs, or what challenges do you envisage that young people have in trying to access programs that help them improve their digital skills and other skills programs, really?
Okay, so my answer is going to be to bring these programs to where the young people already are. So I'll add more context to this by saying that, imagine the very first time I saw sale adverts on Instagram, and then I checked the address and I saw that this hub is inside of Ikorodu. Like, literally, I was shocked, because you wouldn't have expected a tech hub to be in Ikorodu. And I'm very sure a lot of us just came to the program to come and feed our curiosity, because we were like, oh, let's even see what this hub looks like. And the moment we stepped our feet into the building, we could sense the discipline in the environment. So this is them making the program accessible to even the young people in their demographic region. Additionally, they also ensure that everything that is being learned is something that is practicable, that is applicable to the real world problem. So this is them not just teaching, but ensuring that the young people can see the end results and the end usage of these skills that they are learning. For example, the very first day we ran our codes during the training, and then we visualized it. So yeah, we're trying to run a code to visualize numbers of, different branches of Airtel network in Nigeria, like their physical stores, different branches. And then we saw it for the very first time. I put it to you that even if they had told us to come on a Sunday, we were all going to show up, because we were very excited to see what we could do with what we were learning.
Thank you very much for sharing that perspective. So ensuring accessibility is
Yes.
close to where young people are. It will definitely encourage more young people to come and be a part of those programs. Thank you. We're going to wrap up with a question to you, Dr. Tafa. Crypta is an EdTech. How do you think that EdTech companies can better collaborate with employers, industries to ensure that these job pipelines become consistent?
Well, I mean, I have a little radical recommendation. The EdTech companies have to live with the clients. They have to be immersed in the business of the clients. If you don't, that's why it was easy for us to transition to EdTech, because as consultants, we always worked within businesses. So if you want to train, for instance, an accountant, and I don't know I'm using accountant, but let me use HR. One of the things we keep hearing when people are hiring HR, they want a generalist. When they're describing the profile, and they will not say something like, in addition to HR generalist, a consulting background would be great. I've heard several cases like that. And what they're looking for is people that can, structure their thinking or structure thoughts, articulate problems, and recommend solutions. Or articulate problem statements, if I put it that way. So, if the EdTech firms live in the businesses, I say, how is that possible? Well, if we don't do it that way, we're going to keep building learning material that doesn't deal with the nuances of roles. I'll give an example, HR or accounts. They have what I call functional areas. So if you look at accounting or finance, you have treasury, you have risk management, you have financial control, and a couple of other areas. Just exposing that knowledge to say, this is the length and breadth of this particular functional area. So when I say risk management or compliance, which is not exactly accounting, I'm able to define it, understand it, and help them with the theoretical knowledge, so that when I'm presenting, I don't go to AI and cook up stuff. I actually have use cases or instances where this knowledge was lacking. And so that being immersed is very key. But being immersed to do what? Being immersed to appreciate the fundamentals of that subject. AI is here. Yes, it can teach a lot. But if they lack the fundamental understanding of what ought to be, they can't even prompt the AI. So most times it's going searching, it's picking from different sources. But if you know the A to Z, you can say, this is missing, that is missing. And as usual, AI will say, oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. So, but how would you know if you don't know the fundamentals? So that's how I believe we should live with the businesses. That means we should work out of the offices, we should observe, should watch, and then from there we begin to identify what needs to be taught. That's my recommendation.
Thank you very much, sir. At the end of the day, the solutions will then be need-based, based off those observations. Thank you for your insight. Thank you very much to all our panelists and, of course, our live audience for such an insightful and important conversation. Throughout this series, one thing has remained clear. Preparing young people for the future of work cannot be the responsibility of schools alone. It requires intentional collaboration between education providers, employers, innovators, policymakers, and communities. The future workforce will not be built by chance. It must be designed. And if Nigeria gets it right, our youthful population will become one of our greatest economic advantages. Thanks again for joining us all through the month to explore our topic, Job Ready by Design, the role of EdTech in skills development. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. You can continue to engage with us on our WhatsApp and Telegram channels, and of course, revisit past episodes on Spotify and on YouTube. Share your thoughts and comments with us on social media or through our direct channels via WhatsApp or SMS on 0703 165 0809 or call 0706 402 0742. I am Damilola Busari, and I'll see you again next month. Bye for now.
Tech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.